Hey beautiful, so yes, I'm going to give you the steps, but in this video first, I'm going to give you the 7 laws that he went over in the book. So if this is your first video, I'm talking about manifesting from the womb, and I shared the story about my first experience knowingly and intentionally manifesting, and how I manifested $5,000 exactly as it was laid out in the book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. So the first law was the law of pure potentiality. And Deepak talks about this a lot because it has to do with meditation, quieting your mind, spending time in silence, right? If you could get in nature, to get in nature. Connect with your essence beyond ego. And I'm going to tell you, I was a mother of, at that point, 7, maybe not 7, maybe 6. And getting out of nature, being quiet, meditating, I didn't really do that. Not in the way that it is described in the book. That's why I'm giving you the laws, and then I'm going to go back and explain to you how I did it, really. Okay, so then law number 2 is the law of giving and receiving. So you give something to everyone that you meet, right? A compliment, a blessing, a gift, a smile, a kind word. But you give something and then you stay open to receiving. Now, that doesn't mean that you are receiving from the person that you gave to, okay? You're just open to receiving, and you're willing to give as much as you possibly can to everyone around you, okay? Law number 3 was the law of karma, which is like cause and effect, right? So every action generates energy. I don't know about an equal and opposite reaction, but in this book, the focus is, and I agree, every single action generates energy. So you choose actions that bring you joy, that bring you success to others and yourself, right? So you're always thinking really like win-win for you and anybody else that is involved with you. So that cause and effect comes back to you. That's how you end up getting what you want, like tenfold. Number 4, the law of least effort. So you have to accept people, situations, and events as they are. Quit trying to change things. Quit trying to make people be better. Quit trying to date men for their potential and not for whatever they are or lack, right? You practice being, I'm trying to think of the word, going with the flow. So in mental hustle, right? Mental hustle, mental manifestation, we're looking for what we can do. What's the action that I can take? What do I need to do? And yes, there you will be guided and you will have inspired action, but you are not looking for what's the hardest. You don't need a story. You don't need to overcome a hardship. You don't need to do any of those things to be receptive. You're looking for the least resistance, because that's how water flows. That's how life is supposed to flow, with little resistance. Yes, there's going to be resistance because you need contrast in order to refine what you want and in order to keep growing. But this was a big one because I was in a really, really shitty relationship, and my husband was, he had mental instability that he had recently been diagnosed with. And actually, I don't even know if that at that time he had not been diagnosed. It was after I figured out this manifestation practice did he end up going and getting diagnosed, because I was like, baby, I can do this all by myself, plus what I was already doing. And now what I was doing at that time was through the University of Kansas. So I taught classes in my home on natural living, and people registered through the Kansas University of Kansas community office to attend my programs that I hosted in my home on the weekends. And all of my children, and this is going to be important when I start telling you what I did, right? But all of my children had jobs in this class structure every weekend. So like my son, he was part of setup, he was part of breakdown. My daughter, she prepared kits during the week as people registered for the class, right? So when you came to the class, you also got to engage and interact with my children, because they were essentially the teachers, right? They had already done everything I was teaching. They had already done it. And so that's how I could host 20, 30 people in my house on a Saturday. And even if I was just teaching candle making, or sometimes I was doing like chocolate and wine tasting, and I did a lot of raw food prep classes, things like that, soap making. And people needed, that's a lot of people for one teacher in a house. And we were using my dining room and my living room in an apartment. Well, no, I wasn't in an apartment, I was in a townhouse. But my kids could answer questions, could go support them. And then my younger kids were bringing snacks and beverages. Okay, so law number 5 was the law of intention and desire. So the idea was that you were to write your intentions down in a way where you are planting a seed, right? And then detach completely from the outcome, which leads to law number 6, which is the law of detachment, allowing yourself to embrace uncertainty, trust the universe. It's okay not to know the how, just focus on what it is that you want. And the last law was the law of dharma, or purpose of life. And so the belief here is that all of us have very unique gifts and purposes. And when you align yourself with your specific gift or purpose, then abundance flows. So those were the 7 laws. The book is called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra.